Hey YouTube, it is Trinity Productions coming at you again with another video. This time we are doing, and I know it's tall here and we'll kind of show you what this is all about. This is a speaker that has been out a while from DB Technologies. It is in their Ingenia series. Today we're doing a video on the Ingenia IG4T. I would like to consider this line kind of a sleeper line with DB Technologies, in that this particular speaker may not be as well known as some of the others in their line and some of the other competing products. But we ended up purchasing 4 of these IG4Ts. And all I can do is state that I was absolutely taken back with the output and the sound quality of utilizing one of these per side, and then when we coupled and went to 2 per side for some of our events, I was blown away. My techs were blown away. Everybody that has come out to some of the concerts that we've done outdoors have been absolutely astonished that this speaker in a stacked configuration can put out the volume and the quality of sound that it does. We use this the double stack of the IG4Ts, which we'll get into, and I'll show you some of the really nice hardware that DB Technologies has done with this. We are doing outdoor events with 1,000 people in a park setting, and doing it very well. We couple this with a double 18 that these sit upon, and we'll end up doing a video, one of the concerts in the park or things that we've been doing once we set up this system again. But the output out of the thing and just the sound quality out of this IG4T is just amazing. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get into the specs on this thing. Some of the features on this: it's just a 2-way active speaker. It's got 4 6.5-inch woofers in it. It's got a 1.4-inch compression driver. It's got 900 watts RMS in the Digipro G3 amplifier. Asymmetrical vertical coverage. It has digital steering. When you couple 2 of these guys together, you can set the height of it and then do a little bit of digital steering up and down on the column as well. It's got element position detection, so if you put a couple of these together, it will automatically detect that you've got them coupled up. They have neodyme magnets on them, so this guy is really light. It is a injection molded plastic enclosure, and believe it or not, I can set this system up, and I'm not that tall, but I can set this system up with our double 18 subs. We'll roll it out. I can end up stacking both of these up on top of the subs and get all the hardware and everything configured on this, and I think you'll see why when we show you what the hardware is to allow these guys to stack together, of how easy it is to set up, not just with the IG4T, but with their 3T with the dual 10s, and then they've got a 2T, I believe, with dual 8s in it, and then they've got a 1T as well. So they do have an OLED encoder on the back. They've got the speaker locking system, which we'll get into. It's got delay on board. It's got a lot of features in the DSP. We did a video of this when it first came out at WFX about 2 years ago. So we'll put a link into this video that you can take a look at that too, that I was honored to kind of go through that with Marco Cantelo from DB Technologies when they were out for WFX in Nashville. And I was blown away with it then. But that was indoors, and when we ended up taking delivery, the first time we deployed this thing, I was just like smiles. And everybody that was at the venue was just like smiles, because I think they were thinking that, you know, we brought such small speakers to the event that it wasn't going to do anything, and really kind of showed everybody what it was all about. So the processor is a 56-bit DSP controller, 24-bit, 48 kilohertz A to D, D to A to converter. It's got limiters built into it, peak and thermal limiting. It's got on the back of it, I don't know if you can see here, but maybe we'll zoom in on that. It's got the XLR in and out. It's also got 1/4 inch on it as well, switchable mic line. Little port for firmware updates when they come out with it. It's got the encoder. It does have TrueCon power connectors on it, just because of the amplifier being a little bit more power, that they've gone with the TrueCon connectors on this IG4T. So the way it's configured is speaker, 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 high frequency horn. And then when you flip the thing upside down, the two high frequency horns couple together and end up doing just an amazing job. As far as the housing, it is polypropylene, it's reinforced. It is flyable, so they make fly brackets for these things. So if you've got some crank stands or some trussing, you can end up joining these guys together and flying them, or even in a permanent type installation. Handles top and bottom really make it easy to carry. The width of this guy is almost 8 inches. The height is almost 38 inches, about 11 inches deep. And the weight of it is 40 pounds. I wouldn't believe that, but that's what they say it is. So with that said, what we're going to do is get into this thing. They do make, as far as the accessories are concerned, they do make the fly bars. We talked about the ground stacking adapter to go into subs, which we've got, and I'm going to show you, which is just an amazing piece of hardware to hold these things firmly onto a subwoofer. The link brackets that allow us to stack these guys together on top. They do make some magnetic rain covers for them, and for permanent installations, they do make wall brackets for them as well. So we just recently spec'd 4 of these into a school, high school theater, where they're going to wall mount 4 of these things and then couple them with subwoofers. But it is going to provide just a nice, sleek package for that particular project that we had spec'd out with the architect. And so they're going to have more fun sound than they know what to do with these guys. So anyway, with that said, we're going to go ahead and get into the DB Technologies IG4T speaker. Okay, so here we are opened up, and now you can see the inside and the components that are used into it with the 6.5-inch woofers. It is ported down here. This is really kind of beefy polypropylene injection molded assembly that holds all the speakers onto it. And then you can see the horn assembly here at the top of the picture, and we'll pan up and down on that and probably insert that somewhere so you can see the full thing. So that's kind of what it looks like, and what we're going to do is pull one of the drivers out and take a look at that. We're going to see what we can do to get this high frequency driver out and see how easily that is to possibly come out. We can take a look at the driver on that, and then pull the 900 watt RMS DigiPro amp out of the thing as well. And then look and see what they've done as far as the internal bracing that they talk about inside of this to kind of make it as beefy as it is for a injection molded box. So we're going to go ahead and pull a woofer and get into that right now. So we've got it all opened up, and as you can see, we've got a little bit of dampening material in here, but we do have strengthening steel stamped braces inside, and then just the leads that come off and go to the high frequency driver, and then also the all the 6.5-inch low frequency drivers. But it is still really nice and rigid, even with the front out, which came out with about 12 or 14 screws around the edge of it, so it lifts out as one complete assembly. And then as far as weight of this thing now, with the speakers out and the amplifier in it, probably 10-12 pounds. So very light, but it's still with the strengthening members and stuff in it, still a very, very solid cabinet for polypropylene. Everything is secured in with not machine screws, but kind of like what looks like large wood screws as far as the thread is concerned, because it is plastic. It's not all done on thread certs. And then the grill assembly on it is held in the same way, but the screws on that, when they attach to this front assembly, kind of flush in. That's one thing we just didn't take a look at either, was the grill. But again, probably a 18 gauge grill, and then all lined with foam so you can't see the speakers through it, and gives a nice professional look. So we'll go ahead and get this out of the way, and we're going to bring up the assembly that's got all the drivers on it. and show you what that looks like, and then we're going to end up pulling a driver off and getting into that as well. Okay, so now we've got the driver assembly, all again on stiffened polypropylene. You can see the horn assembly and then all the drivers, and then the port here. Hello, hello. Turning it around, we can now see all of the speakers, and they are all neomagnets. They've got a little bit of foam on the inside of them there to keep dust and debris out of that neo assembly, but they just all kind of parallel all the way down in a daisy chain configuration. They are stamped baskets on the drivers themselves, but this whole assembly, probably 25 pounds maybe. You can tell that the weight of the magnet up on top with that driver is a little bit more because it wants to lean as I lift it up. But we'll go ahead and get one of these drivers pulled, and then we'll see what we can do to get this driver pulled. These are DB Technologies drivers, and they are all, looks like, I can't tell the impedance on them. It does have it down there, but I can't, too small to read. So we'll go ahead and get these drivers pulled and take a look at them from this DB Technologies IG4T. Okay, so we have got the drivers out, and you can see the 6.5-inch driver here just on a stamp basket with the neo magnet. They are 16 ohm drivers, so we basically, with the 4 of them in the parallel configuration, we're presenting a load to the amplifier of 4 ohms across all 4 of these drivers. The high frequency driver on this is I don't recognize a part number on it, but it's pretty massive. They've got a little screen on it, as all the drivers typically do, so that keeps dirt and debris and bugs and things like that out of it. One of the things that I did not mention that I want to go back and talk about real quick, though, is the crossover point on this. It is at 1100 hertz with this larger driver. So it's not super high. It's not up to 15 or 1600 as a normal cabinet. So they've been able to focus more of that high frequency energy down into this larger driver. It is a 3-inch voice coil on the driver itself, with a 1.4-inch exit on the vertical asymmetrical horn assembly. So, but this little guy, I'm going to end up pulling it over here so you can see, but it, let's go back, bolts up to this aluminum frame here on it that is secured to the flare assembly, and that's all bolted on and is nice and secure. And then all the speakers are screwed in with 4 screws into this injection molded polypropylene faceplate. So pretty basic, pretty straightforward. How they get the sound that they do out of this thing is just absolutely amazing. What we're going to do now is go ahead, we're going to at least get the front back together, and they're going to pull the amplifier. And then once we look at that, it's a standard Digipro G3 with her OLED display on it. But once we get it all back together, we're going to run some analytics on it, frequency response, see what it does with the pink noise going through it, and then play a little bit of music through it. But also what we want to highlight is the hardware to be able to link two of these guys together, and then also highlight what the internal DSP can do on the DB Technologies IG4T Ingenia Series. Okay, so we got the amplifier pulled, and it is just their standard Digipro Series amp. No fans, yay. And so we'll just kind of put this down here to just take a look. All surface mount type technology, the power supply that is inside there, switch mode power supply, is all covered over. So you've got your power input section over here. On this side is your audio that is coming in. If we flip it over here, you can see that we've got XLR combo jack in, XLR out for a link, mic line switch, OLED display and then the control for it as well. And then there's some indicators that light up on here when the amplifier is on. And then this is the TrueCon connection, so you got TrueCon in and out on this. And other than that, that is your basic DigiPro amp. There's really not a whole lot to see inside there. Lots of ICs, chips, semiconductors, all sorts of fun stuff. The speaker assembly does plug on to the back of it right here. And then on the circuit board here, we've got two tiny little circuit board connectors that connect up to the infrared sensor and at the top of the cabinet there. So that is about it for this. Weight of the amplifier, under 5 pounds probably. So they've packed 900 watts into this puppy. It is a full heat sink, so this is what dissipates the heat when it starts building up on the amplifier and everything starts running like it's supposed to. This provides all of the convection cooling. So without this in there, this thing is probably 10 pounds. But still very solid with everything out. There is a seal around the back of this, and it goes in with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 screws. Everything is held on quite nicely to it. So what we're going to do is get this back together. We'll get some analysis software up on the iPad Pro and take a look at it, and then we'll run a little bit of music through it. Before we do that, though, we'll come back and talk about some of the hardware and kind of show you what the connecting hardware is on attaching these things on the top of a subwoofer, and then also the joining hardware to put two of these guys together in a stack configuration. As we are getting this back together, just wanted to kind of go over why I feel that this is kind of a sleeper for DB Technologies, because of the capability of this entire line with the IG4Ts and then also the 3Ts. I haven't had an opportunity yet to look at the 2Ts or the 1T, but from what I have seen with the 3T and the 4T, we did an installation into a high-end coffee shop over in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it had a venue in the back of it that they would do for corporate events or anything where small entertainment was needed. And we ended up flying a couple of the 3Ts in there. We ended up doing all of the audio and the video and the lighting on that project. But coupled that with some of the DB Technologies subs, and that room, for the size it is, probably holds a couple hundred. But the 3Ts with the 10-inch drivers in them just performed very, very well. They've got a little bit more low frequency extension than the 4T does. If they want to, can be used just by themselves without the subwoofers. But everybody that has been in that room and heard that system, absolutely, taken back by it. Even though these are column-type systems, they still can be used for speaker on a stick kind of PA, very unobtrusive, narrow design, so that if you've got corporate work or anything that you would be considered doing with these things, they look great for corporate work. They're very easy to set up in a ballroom or corporate environment. Same thing with the 1Ts and the 2Ts. You can use those for breakout rooms and things like that, speakers on a stick, and not have this ugly speaker box in the room that everybody equates with a typical loudspeaker for doing breakout sessions or small meetings and things like that. So that's where this line is really I would see kind of fitting in. Live sound certainly, as what we've done with this the 4Ts. But with the smaller boxes, even though they're smaller, they still have the stacking capabilities in those boxes, and you can array them and stack them together just like you can the larger models. So the sound output out of the things, though, is just incredible. So we're going to go ahead and get the grill on, and then what we're going to do is show you the hardware for these, and I think you'll be very impressed with what they've done with the stacking hardware and then the linking hardware on the DB Technologies IG4T. Okay, so the first piece of hardware that I would like to highlight that this has, which when we ordered it, it was just like, oh my gosh, this stuff is fantastic. It is the stacking kit to put this thing up onto a subwoofer. So you can see it here. It is pretty beefy, solid construction, probably 3/16 steel material. And then they've got all these nice little push pins on it that will allow you to set up IG1Ts, 4Ts, 2Ts, and 3Ts all off the same bracket. So pretty stinking cool. And just basically where these guys are positioned depends on where and what speaker is going to get positioned on it. So what happens is they send you with this bracket these two side pieces that can be moved and repositioned for any of the speakers in the series, and then this little, there we go, pole socket here to go into a standard M20 thread, which our subwoofers do have as the M20. So this thing goes into the M20 thread, and then the speaker then, scoot this thing over here, the Ingenia then slips over the top of this thing and locks into place. So what I'm going to do to demonstrate that, minus the pole socket because it doesn't have anything to go to, but typically when we set these guys up, we'll end up doing the bottom cabinet first, and it's just a matter of picking this guy up, inserting it there, and you slide back, you twist these guys so that they unlock, and then just come back on it, and all of them lock into place, and this speaker is not going anywhere at all. And then this goes up inside, and this is locked to the M20 thread on the subwoofer, and even if the subwoofer got knocked over, this whole thing's going down as a complete package. So the other nice thing that they've done with their linking hardware, which I'm going to now remove this to show you, because the camera is not going to pick it up here if I do it. So we'll go ahead and pull this out. But as you can see how easy that was, these things just come out and lock so that the pins on them completely open up, so that they just twist and snap back in. Pull them out, open them up, you can pull the speaker out. Stinking slick hardware. So really, really, really nice. So we'll go ahead and get this out of the way. And then what I'm going to do is just lay this thing down so you can kind of see what this linking hardware is all about, and try to get it so that we've got it zoomed in here on this the lower camera. So this is the linking hardware bracket. It is almost the same thickness of steel, I think, as the other bracket is concerned. But let's see if we can get this in here. There it is. Ingenia Series has the pins that go into these side holes here. And then what they've done is you push this, and there is a locking mechanism that ends up turning and locking these guys in. So let's imagine that there is another Ingenia speaker butted up to this thing, which right here, that's something I need to show you. There is the infrared port on it. So this is the port that talks to the other speaker when they are stacked together, so that it ends up transferring the information as far as the array and the settings and everything right there. So all the gain settings and things like that, you only do on one speaker, and it's all transferred through infrared up to the top box, so you don't have to get on a ladder or anything to get all the way up there. So that is a really nice, notable feature. So With that though, we bring up our other Ingenia speaker, set it on top. One of the things that they've done, and you can kind of see here, is this interlocking. This will then, with the other speaker, as you can see here, they lock together so that when these guys go up, even though they're not locked in when you first set them up, they're not going to slide off because they have a little bit of an 1/8 inch relief on them that will go into. So once the speakers are up, these little guys go into play and come in here. And as you can see, I'm going to release that, and you can see that it completely locks that into place. And then when you're pulling them down, you end up pulling these guys off, and you can see how quickly that hardware goes together to be able to stack these guys up. We have set this rig up with the subwoofers in like 10 minutes. I mean, it's just everything out of the truck, and speakers down, pull the covers off, subs down, flip them up. This little guy here goes into the sub with the top bracket. The first speaker goes on, second speaker goes on, boom, done. We've made some Y cables that we just Y into the speakers and do a top bottom. We could do a jumper as well for the TrueCons on them, but we've chosen to just to do a Y with a 20 amp connector on it and feed both speakers out of that. Audio wise, you do have to feed audio to both speakers, so you end up going from your input out of the link and up to the next speaker. But everything else, as far as setup and communication, everything is done off this infrared port as far as what is going on with the DSP and things like that of the Ingenia 4T. So, like I said, when we first got these and they came out, I was not skeptical, but I was just thinking it's like, okay, it's just another, line column speaker. We do run in a lot of our events the RCF TT11 system, which is massive compared to this. But we've had this out at the same venue that we have used the TT11 at, and it is close. Wouldn't quite say it does quite what the TT11 system does, but it really performs quite nicely in that outdoor setting. So with that said, we're going to go ahead, get the iPad Pro out, run some noise through it, and then just kind of take a listen to some music through it as well. I'm sorry that you're just relying on this little lavalier mic on my headset, but give us a call if you want to know more information about this. I'll have the link to the other video we did at WFX as well. But this speaker system and this whole series from DB Technologies is really worthy of a serious consideration just because of the form factor, the weight of the boxes, and then as far as the output and sound quality out of these things, and the expansion. The nice thing about this is you can buy 2 of them for now, put them up on sticks or poles or whatever on top of your subs, and once you're ready to go to and do a larger venue, you just buy another pair, stack them up top, set the DSP configuration, and all of a sudden you've got more sound in a nice, neat, slim package than you know what to do with. So we're going to go ahead and run the traces and get this wrapped up. Okay, so what I wanted to do before we get going on that is go ahead and show you the OLED display on this thing. So we're just going to go ahead and power it up, and it pops up and comes up with the main menu. As you can see in the display here, you press enter and it asks you if you want to build a system. I'll try to hold it steady here. And you hit enter again, and what it's going to do is an infrared check to see if it's got another system on top of it or underneath. So it's telling you it's got just one speaker, there was no subwoofers found. Wants to know if you're doing stacked or flown, and then you can go through those parameters. You hit next, and then it goes into the back into the menu. So you've got the ability to load systems. It's got options of password protection, restoring back to factory defaults, info on it. Microphone settings, system delay, stage alignment, distance, that if you had the system from drums and you wanted to do alignment and your mixer board did not have any ability to do that. And then also any acoustic correction that you want to do on the low frequency, mid frequency, high frequency. You can save and load a system if you do the same over and over again. One of the things that happens when the two boxes get together is that it will ask you then to reconfigure a system, and it'll know that the two boxes are there. And then once the two boxes are there, it will give you another menu, which it doesn't do in the single box configuration, but it gives you another menu to be able to tilt up and down about 10 degrees the horizontal beaming of the system, and then be able to control that output a little bit, plus or minus 10 degrees with it. But the coverage out of this thing is just absolutely wonderful. So we're going to go ahead and get some noise running through it. Okay, so we've got set up here on the iPad Pro with the Spectrograph software. All this software is by Studio 6 Digital is what we're running on the iPad Pro. So we do have RTA, FFT, energy time curve, modules bought, the smart tools, which is single channel RTA, FFT, and spectrograph, loudspeaker and room system analyzer module bought. So it's really nice software. So a little plug for Studio 6 Digital. Anyway, we're going to get into this one, the smart tools, and just looking at what the, as I'm talking and kind of what is going on with the room and just listening in. What we're going to do is just run some noise through it, pink noise, and so we'll do that now. Okay, so what we'll do is get into that. We've got the generator running, and what we're going to do is just go ahead and turn up the pink noise, not white noise. You can kind of see how things are tracking. We've got the microphone probably, I don't know, 3 feet, a meter in front of the speaker. I'm going to drop it down so that it is directly on axis with the speaker in the center. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and run the some sweeps on it, sine wave. We'll start down at 24 because it won't even go down that low. So we can start seeing some artifacts coming in right around 60, 65 on the speaker. But once we get up to 75, 80, 90, and 100, it really starts coming alive, as you can kind of see in the display. But I wouldn't want to push and run this thing much lower than 90 anyway. And just use a nice crossover on it that has got like a Butterworth 24 slope to it, and then let the subwoofers pick up and do what they need to do. But as you can see, we can go up. And the speaker is still reproducing all the way up. It's still there. We're at 18 and fell out at 20K because we went off the scale. So it does what it says it's going to do as far as reproducing high frequency is concerned. As far as tonality and response, we'll put peak noise back on and bring that up. You can kind of see where it is in the spectrum that 65, 70 dB. We're fairly level within few dB all the way across the spectrum. It's on 12th octave now. We'll open this up and go into 3rd octave. But the room we're in is kind of small too, so it doesn't help. But you can see we've got a little bit of me talking, but you can see a little bit of lower energy buildup here. But you know, for the most part, fairly flat with the energy that's shown here on Spectrograph, and then fairly flat through the range as well, within a few dB as things kind of settle into place. Bring up the volume a little bit here. More energy up in the higher frequency area, maybe 10, 12K up there, and a little bit trying to reproduce down in the 200, 160 range and everything. But other than that, fairly flat right across the board. We've set these up as speakers on a stick kind of deal, and they sound great just kind of with 2 of them together, or a single speaker as well, where you're just doing music playback, you know, for an event or something, and they do sound very good and full range in that kind of setup as well. So that is kind of the response and what we're looking at out of this speaker. As with any smaller driver and things like that, whether it's the IG4T or a competing speaker that is similar to what this is the tall, skinny speaker, narrow column kind of thing. They're all similar as far as frequency response. You can only get so much out of that size of speaker and that size of driver as far as low end is concerned. So with that, we'll go ahead and just run a little bit of music through this thing that you can hear it through this wonderful lapel mic, and get this video wrapped up. Yep. All right, so here we are. We've got a little bit of music coming through it. Unfortunately, with a lot of the popular stuff, it will get cut out if we try to run it on YouTube. So we've got some stuff that is nobody's ever heard of, but it's okay with YouTube. And so we'll just kind of run through a couple of different things real quick. Try to find something that it's got good low frequency extension just by itself. Sideways, maybe, so you can get a little bit of the high frequency that you can hear. Probably overdrive the piss out of this thing, but so there you have it, the DB Technologies Ingenia Series. This is the Ingenia IG4T. So if you have any more questions, reach out to us here on YouTube. Give us a call, area code 209-832-8023. Send us an email, info@Trinity, Trinity, Prosound, Prosound.com, and we'll be happy to answer, give you pricing on these. We are dealers and users. So like I said, these things, sleeper, absolute sleeper. Anybody that has purchased these things has been absolutely blown away by them. Sold them to a gentleman in, I think, Ohio, back in the Midwest, and got it. And we had gone around, and I told him, I said, take them, listen to them. You don't like them, send them back. I said, I've got that much confidence in these speakers. And he sent me an email, and it was just like, OMG. So anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing to the channel if you have. We'll be posting more videos soon. Again, it's Trinity Productions, TrinityProsound.com. Thanks for watching.